The colour of lens that you look through can have a dramatic effect on how you see. And on this channel we've covered basically every single lens colour imaginable, but never all in one place, and that's what today's video is all about. I've brought you here to the Bodant Gardens in Wales, which is an incredibly beautiful scene and perfect for showcasing the different lens colours that you can get in your either tinted glasses or sunglasses. So hi, I'm Robert, Style and Vision Consultant at the Spectacle Factory, and it's my job to pair you with your perfect pair of glasses. And I always say that the perfect pair of glasses is not complete without the right lens tint. And that could be a light tint, it could be a dark tint for sunglasses, it could be anything in between. But either way, you're going to have to choose the colour of that tint. And that's what I'm about to show you. So we're going to be overlaying different lens colours on this beautiful scene and showing you the difference that they make to your vision. I have my lens colour book here to show you with a ton of different lens colours. We're going to look at each of them one at a time. I'm going to be explaining the benefits of each one. So we're going to start with the most simple tint, which is grey. And you'll see that as I overlay a grey tint onto this scene, it doesn't really change the colours of what you're seeing. It just makes it dimmer and darker. And in certain situations, that is actually pretty much what you want. You want your sunglasses just to give you a cooling sensation on your eyes to make you feel more comfortable in really bright conditions. And on a day like today, it's pretty perfect. It just takes the heat away from the scene, makes it a lot cooler. However, the problem with grey as a general lens tint is that it's typically too dark, too gloomy and too dull for conditions other than this. So if the sun goes behind the clouds, if you're wearing your sunglasses on bright but cold weather, it's not really going to give you comfortable vision in those situations because it does make everything colder. If you're wearing your sunglasses on a beach somewhere, this tint is absolutely ideal. But if you're wearing them kind of in an urban setting where you're in and out of different environments, where you're in shadows or the shade, I don't recommend a grey tint for that reason. However, one of the main advantages of grey, just to show you one more time, is the perfect colour accuracy, or nearly perfect colour accuracy, that you get through a grey tint. It's not going to change or distort the colours in any way. Now, the next most common lens tint after grey is brown. And I personally prefer brown massively over grey for general sunglass use. And the reason is because unlike the grey that makes everything colder and gloomier, brown will actually make everything warmer, richer and more enhanced. Particularly reds and greens are enhanced by brown, whereas blues are dampened, as you'll see with the sky. Generally speaking, that means you get more contrast from your vision, which means that if you're looking for like a general use sunglass that you want to be particularly good for things like driving, brown is always going to be better than grey. But what if you're looking for the colour accuracy of the grey with the improved contrast of the brown? Well, that's where G15 tint comes in. This tint was originally invented by Ray-Ban and created for military aircraft pilots who needed perfect colour accuracy with enhanced contrast so they could see better, more clearly, and they could react quicker. Green is particularly good in saturated green environments. When there's a predominance of green, the green tint actually helps to filter the excess green so that you can distinguish different shades of green from one another. So as much as this is great for pilots and also for driving, it's also really good in environments like we're in today. So those are the three typical lens colours that most people choose. I would say more than 90% people choose when they select new sunglasses. But as I mentioned, there are a lot more colour options than that. And now we're going to get into the more interesting colours. So starting with blue. And unlike the first three colours that we looked at, the blue has a much more noticeable effect on our vision. So when we add a blue tint to this scene, you're going to see how transformed it is. And the sky, the blue sky, is really enhanced. You see a lot more blue because of that lens. And I find that this is even cooler than the grey in terms of the effect that it has on how we feel. So a good lens for hot conditions. If you're wearing a dark blue lens on a cold day, it's going to make you feel colder, so it's not ideal for that. But I particularly like the blue lens as more of a style-orientated colour that does actually have a cool effect on our vision, like literally a cool effect. So with blue, I tend to wear this in urban environments, city situations, times where I'm as concerned with how I look as I am about how I see. Now, how I see is still important, and the blue I find is a very relaxing and calming colour. So again, it's great in those really busy situations. Just helps you feel a little bit detached from everything and a little bit more calm. But a lot of people don't like how transformative blue is, and I get that as well. It's also a very low contrast colour. And that's why my favourite lens tint of all is Sweet Violet. Because what you're going to see with the Sweet Violet is that it has an enhancing effect like the blue. It's still very calming, very chill, but it doesn't have the colour distortion that blue does. It's a much more neutral lens. What I find with Sweet Violet and what I love so much about it is it makes everything look newer, fresher, and it doesn't really take away anything from your vision, it only enhances. And that is why it's my favourite tint ever. It's a lens tint that I wear for relaxing at home, but I also wear quite a lot in like multiple different situations. It's not really a sunglass lens colour. You could have it made as a dark sunglass, but I don't really think it's suited to that. I think this is more of a casual mid-tint lens, and this sample, for example, is in 50%, so it's designed to be not too dark, not too light. Out of all of the tints that I have in my collection, Sweet Violet is my favourite. I just love the effect that it has on how I see. Now there's another tint with a very similar name to Sweet Violet, but has a completely different effect on our vision, and that's Sunset Violet. A different shade of violet. I mean, this is much more pink compared against the Sweet Violet, which was more purple, as you can see. This tint is extremely good for contrast. It's one of the most contrast enhancing lenses. So this has become my go-to lens tint for driving in bright, sunny conditions. I took this on a tour of France in the full hot summer, and it was absolutely amazing. Hopefully you can see the incredible contrast that this gives. It really makes everything clearer, sharper, more distinct from each other, and that helps you with things like judging distances, reacting to things. All these elements are important when we drive, but I have actually found that it's beautiful as a general purpose sunglass as well. It's become, I'm just thinking just to make sure this is correct before I say it, yeah, it has become my favourite sunglass lens tint. So if I'm wearing sunglasses on a day like today, it's my favourite colour to look through. I just love how incredible the contrast is. And although the colour might seem quite saturated, I find that my brain gets used to that colour shift very quickly compared against, for example, the blue. Now that's the other thing to bear in mind, that when you do wear obvious colours like this, they're not as obvious after a minute or 2 minutes of wearing them as you might think. You don't see everything bright pink for hours on end after you've put them on, only for about a minute or two. And actually when you get used to wearing them on a regular basis, that doesn't happen at all. I can put on my Sunset Violet lenses and I don't feel like everything's pink or purple, it just looks natural to me. So once you get used to the different shade that you're actually looking through, you'll find that everything is just clearer. And that's why it's become my go-to sunglass lens tint. Now, there is a tint that's even better than that for driving, and I've talked about it on this channel many times, which is Magma Orange. Magma Orange is the most effective driving lens colour you can get, at least in my experience, and I feel like I probably have tried every tint by now. So with orange, you get super bright contrast. And as you can see straight away, this is a brighter lens to look through than the Sunset Violet. Now that's for a reason. Orange, because it is such a bright colour, it makes everything brighter when you look through it. And the advantage of that is that if you're driving in low light situations, overcast conditions, in cloudy weather, rainy weather, the orange is not going to darken what you see, which is really important to have good visibility. Unlike the Sunset Violet, which is more of a sunglass lens colour, this is a daily driving colour, and it is amazing at that. It can also be worn as a fashion colour. We do a lot of bi-gradient tints with this lens where it'll be half Magma Orange and half another colour. It tends to work really well with others, but I use it as a more functional pair. It's my daily driving lens. If I'm commuting to work and back, this is the lens that I look through. In my case, I combine it with a sapphire flash coating, and what that does is it mitigates the brightness that you get with Magma Orange, because obviously if you're driving into the sun, for example, you need a lens that's a little bit darker. Having a flash or mirror coating gives you that, because it doesn't mess with the tint, not much anyway, we're going to get to that in a second, but it does just help to deflect harsh light away from the eyes. Here's the Magma Orange one more time. Absolutely amazing lens tint. And one last lens tint to finish on, and this is probably not the environment for it, is yellow. I don't think that looking through a yellow lens in an outdoor environment like this is very pleasant. I think it's a little bit sickly, although it does give the extreme contrast and sharpness enhancement that orange does. I find the orange just a bit more easy to look through. But where yellow is ideal is for gamers. If you need a pair of computer glasses, if you're going to be spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day on screens like so many people do nowadays, a yellow lens is what you want, because that will give the best view of the screen, first of all, and it will block the most blue light. A lens like this will block virtually 100% of blue light, as opposed to blue light filters that only block about 15 to 20% of blue light. So those so-called blue blocking lenses are nowhere near as effective as an actual tint on your glasses. And I'm actually going to be filming a video very soon on exactly that subject, so make sure you subscribe for that. Now I mentioned mirror coatings, and I briefly want to touch on that, because I have a few examples here of mirror coatings that are applied to a grey lens. And I want to just show you what that does in terms of the shift of colour. Both of these lenses are grey, but actually if you look through them, the effect is different. They look like different colours. Why is that? Well, because in this case, the red mirror is taking away red light, and in this case, the green mirror is taking away green light, and that has a slight effect on the colour that you perceive through them. It is a slight effect, but it's an effect nonetheless. The most extreme example would be with a blue mirror, like you see here, and a red mirror, because those are at the opposite end of the visible light spectrum. So watch what happens. This is a grey lens, but with a red mirror applied. It's going to be more blue, right? And with the blue lens, it's the opposite. That actually makes it look almost like a brown tint. Now, in these kind of conditions where it's really bright, direct sunlight, a mirror coating is actually really effective in terms of protecting your eyes from the sun. And there are certain types of harmful light, like infrared radiation, that only a mirror coating will protect your eyes from. So the most protective sunglasses will always have at least a flash coating, or ideally a mirror. It's a good option to have in your collection, even though it's not like my personal style. I'm wearing a flash coating today on my glasses, and I think that looks pretty good because it's a lot more subtle than a mirror. But I will always keep a pair of mirrored sunglasses just for driving in certain really dangerous conditions, for example, when the sun is super low. And for those who want a bit more technical detail, the way that it works is that a lens tint is absorbing all the colours except for the colour that you see. So if you get a blue tint, for example, that is transmitting more blue light than any other colour. If you get a brown tint, that means it's transmitting more red and yellow. With a mirror coating or a flash coating, it's the opposite. So a red mirror is reflecting red light, so it's transmitting less red light. A red tint would be transmitting more red light. So the two are opposite ways of blocking the same kinds of light. I hope that makes sense, because colour accuracy can be a really difficult topic to get your head around. But that's it. And I hope you've enjoyed this showcase of every lens tint colour that you can buy. Well, virtually. We can always create custom bespoke lens colours for you, and if you have a colour in mind, tell us what it is, tell us what level of tint you'd like, and we can replicate it for you. But if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more of the best eyewear content on the internet. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye bye.